mic ko kasi may nakatapat na fan sa akin. Hindi naman maingay.
Okay naman po, hindi naman po.
Okay.
Okay naman.
Okay. Thank you.
Araw-araw, milyong-milyong Pilipino ang nag-iipon ng barya sa kani-kanilang tahanan. Ngunit, lingid sa ating kaalaman, ito ay may malaking epekto sa sirkulasyon ng pera sa ating ekonomiya.
Ma, gan, dang, u, ma, ga. Magandang umaga.
Magandang umaga.
Yan, ang galing mo, Nay. Oh, ito naman, Nay.
Araw-araw, milyong-milyong Pilipino ang nag-iipon ng barya sa kani-kanilang tahanan. Ngunit, lingid sa ating kaalaman, ito ay may malaking epekto sa sirkulasyon ng pera sa ating ekonomiya.
Ma, gan, dang, u, ma, ga. Magandang umaga.
Magandang umaga.
Yan, ang galing mo, Nay. Oh, ito naman, Nay.
Hello everyone! Yes, kung nagtataka po kayo kung ano itsura ni Minia kapag pumasok siya ng kumbento, huwag na po kayo magtanong, pinapanood nyo na po siya ngayon. Pero no, hindi po ako si Mimia. My name is CK. CK in your area? Marami siguro nagtatanong kung ano bang meaning ng pangalan kong CK. Pero I would like to keep it private. Anak kasi maka-artista, first name basis lang. And speaking of privacy, I would just like to inform the audience in Zoom with us that the privacy notice of this webinar is now posted on the chat box. Also, please be informed that this webinar is being recorded for documentation purposes and may be re-uploaded in the official website and other social media accounts of the university. Should you have privacy concerns, please do not hesitate to contact the organizers or send an email to privacy.manila@lpu.edu.ph. O ayan, nag-serious ako ng sandali. Kahit pa paano nakita na multi-layered naman ako. Pero ngayon, balik na tayo sa lokohan. Yes, so sa ayaw at sa gusto nyo, ako ang magiging host nyo for the second part of the Pathfinder Career Talks. Ito ay isang webinar para sa mga tao na hindi pa alam ang tatahakin nilang career path o kaya naman nasa biyahe na sila, pero kailangan lang nila ng guidance o kaya pang toll gate. Hopefully, after this talk, mas maging klaro kung anong gusto mo sa buhay. Who knows, baka ngayon iniisip mo gusto mo maging doktor, engineer, pero pagkatapos itong talk na to, baka ma-realize mo, ay hindi pala yun yung gusto ko pala maging TikToker. Baka magbago yung career, di ba? Pero kahit ano pa ang trip mo, everyone is welcome here, except sa mga taong nag-aaya ng gala, tapos biglang hindi naman pala tuloy. Ang tawag yun sa lingwaheng Gen Z, mga nagdo-drawing, okay? Mahilig mag-sketch pero hindi finish ang plano. And speaking of drawing, ang speaker natin na first speaker ay magaling mag-drawing pero the good kind of drawing. Okay? Dahil isa siyang animator and senior special effects artist. And please listen carefully sa ating next speaker dahil after niya mag-talk, magkakaroon tayo agad ng Q&A with him. Meanwhile, for the other two upcoming speakers, sa end pa natin sila makakachikahan. So while you're listening to him, please send in your questions already, whether in FB Live or here in Zoom. Kaya ngayon, please everyone, inihahandog ko sa inyo ang ating first speaker. Inihahandog, take note, inihahandog ko sa inyo. Sir Eduardo Handog.
Okay, good afternoon, good day to everyone here in our webinar. So I will show you how we slowly teach you to be the artist or to maximize your artistic output after graduating. So sa unang years, we will teach you how to do some freehand drawings, and then some freehand drawings we will teach you how to create drawings, and let me show you some idea. It will be an idea of what we will do. We will create characters, we will create drawings, we will put your imagination into visuals. Then we will teach you how to animate it. Here, makikita natin kung paano hinuhuli yung volume. Kasi to animate a character, you will catch the volume of your character, and then so you can easily animate them. So ayan. Don't worry about the drawing. It's a quick sketch just so to demonstrate how animation works. In animation, we will see 24 drawings in one frame. Yung iba 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second. So, while we're animating it, you will see how it's gradually moving. So, ayan. And then, after learning how to do 2D animation, next naman natin ay we will also teach you how to create the characters. And then after creating your characters, you will do storyboard. Here's one of my students' work. Ayan. Diba? Para rin siyang book. And then, I'm just quickly showing this to you so you will have an idea of what we are doing. Next, see. Wait, after each branch is alpha. This is actually a storyboard pero dahil modern na tayo, hindi na tayo yung board na nakabox pa lahat. So, we can draw it one by one or in boxes like parang comics. Ayan. See, they learn it all here. Pero don't worry if you're not this one. Ayan. Kay June Aragon. This one is a character derived from Apolinario Mabini. Pero this time, si Apolinario Mabini, futuristic. Not really him, but medyo na ano lang, influenced by. So, we have different styles. Kanya-kanyang style yan. Ayan. And then, after doing 2D, we will also teach you how to do 3D animation. You will model in 3D, you will animate in 3D. Here are some of my students' best works. Let's see. Ayan. This is done in Maya. Of course, the software that we're using is Maya. Ayan. Ayan. Don't, never mind the watermarks because we have no license to use that. We are only using a student version. So, merong watermark yung iba. Ayan. Yun yung mga words nila. And also, I'm teaching this rigging for these are special riggings which I only invented. Of course, everyone can do that also, but these are special riggings that I myself devised. And imagine, yung creativity nila makikita nyo. Pag kayo ay nag-enroll dito, I will also teach you how to do that. Ayan, giving life to inanimate character. Ano yan, yung mga characters na walang buhay talaga, pero lalagyan natin ng character. I always use this kasi for the commercials, like yung mga, kunyari, yung mga, kunyari sachet ng juice, pagagalawin mo siya, and then, syempre hindi naman natin mauutusin yung totoong pack ng juice. So, might as well do 3D animation. So, tagal na yung sample na to. Ayan. Yes. See? Dito kasi sa 3D animation, ang isang sa most powerful tool. So, ayan. Okay, tapusin na natin itong mga works nila para ma-inspire kayo, makita nyo. They did this within ilan ba? 5 months of 2 meetings per week in 5 months. So, ayan. You see, yung imagination nila nagamit nila using our rig. Ayan. Ayan. I guess sobrang dami na. Maubos yung oras natin dito. So, ayan. But anyway, I think it's fun watching. So, ayan. Then mamaya, you give your questions, ask questions. I think pwede na natin stop kasi madami pa to eh. Kasi maraming students ang ginanahan sa paggawa. And they really are creative students. So here kasi, we will find out or what talents you have and what skills you have to enhance and what skill you can have as edge. So I think I have to end this na. Marami pa yan pero sige na. Okay. Yes. Okay. And then after that, you also get to do 3D animation, full 3D animation and then we also do it with live action. Here's one sample that I did also for a client in abroad. Ayan. Ito, ang project dito ay tatanggalin yung background. Ayan, tinanggal yung background. Kaya tayo naka-green screen yon para matanggal yung background, ma-delete yung background. And then I did some shutter effects using After Effects. And then after that, I did some computer graphics na butterflies. Ayan. So the idea is, mawawala siya and then magiging butterfly. Ayan. Dust effects. Ayan. Konting dust effects. Ayan. So, ayun. Also, I also did some ito. Ayan. Yung mga talents ko ay sinushoot natin sa green screen or sa chroma screen, and then later on i-delete natin yan. Oops. Meron pa okay. Ayan. So after that meron pa yan yung eto. Bago pa po ito, hindi pa po ito pinapalabas. Pero ayan, pinakita ko sa inyo kung paano ginagawa. Ayan. Ito yung 3D. Ayan. Paano ba matapos? Okay. Ayan. And then ito yung hindi pa naman final ito. So, edit. One more time. Ayun. Ganun lang. Again. So, ibig sabihin, after graduating, you can do some commercials, TV commercials, and I also did some here. You see how these two looks like ayan, parang kanta ka lang sila, paarte-arte sila, pero walang nangyayari. Pero pag nilagyan ng CG, ayan, makikita natin kung paano nag-work yung acting nila kapag may computer graphics na. Ayun. Ayan, mukhang tanga muna. Ayan, diba? Inulit ko lang. So, ayan. Ayan, acting without computer graphics. With computer graphics. Ayan. So, ayan. You see, yan yung mga works na pwede nyo maging trabaho after graduating. Okay? Actually, pangit pa yung production ng Philippines kasi mabilisan. Pero, just the same. It's the same work. Okay, sino pa ba? So, do you have any questions? Habang so, ayan. Okay. Those are some of my works. So, I'm welcoming questions right now. So, please ask your questions and I can answer that for you. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So, bakit daw ang pangit ng mga gawa sa Philippines pag nanonood kayo sa TV, yung mga TV series, mga ano. Well, it's because ano kasi yan ang lahat ng production, merong process para gumawa ng anything. Kunyari, may process para mag-shoot ng live action. Pag yung live action, may nadali mo, papangit. Same goes to CG. Kapag yung CG, ang kailangan mo siyang gawin ng one whole month, pero pinipilit sa yung ipagawa sa loob ng 1 week, syempre, yung quality ng trabaho mawawala kasi maraming process yan na ginagawa before you come up with a good result. Okay, so ayun, ito yung mga works ko na ginamit ko noon mga unang mga panahon. So yes, next, any more questions? Oh yes. Okay. So, paano nga ba? Ayan. These are job done for UAAP in ABS-CBN. So ayan, yung after breaks ng mga UAAP, nasa mga time out, ayan yung mga pinapakita ng mga commercials. Those are some of my works. Ito naman po, pinalabas po yan sa ABS-CBN din. Way back year 1999 yata. Something like that. Makikita nyo naman kapag ang trabaho ay ginawa ng maayos, nagagawa natin, kaya natin tapatan yung mga Hollywood movies kung tutusin. Actually, sa Hollywood movies po, yung mga gumagawa doon, karamihan doon Pinoy. I mean, kapag Pinoy, iba ang tingin nila. Malaki ang respeto nila. Kasi iba tayo gumawa. Eto nga sa atin dito sa production sa atin, kung gawin yan napakabilis. While sa ibang bansa or sa Hollywood, kung ginagawa yan ng 3 months, dito sa isang linggo lang ipinapatapos ng mga production kasi time equals money. Ayun yun. Pag mas matagal mong pinapasahod yung tao habang ginagawa yung same project, syempre mas marami kang binabayaran doing the same project. Samantalang kung papatapos mo ng maaga, konti lang babayaran mo sa kanila. Yun nga lang, doon nagsasuffer ang quality. Yun yung yun yung bad sa production kapag minamabilis. Ayan. So, any more questions? Okay. So, thank you. Kung wala na pong question, thank you everyone and have a great day. This has been Edward Dandog. Uh, see you in our MMA college.
Hello po. Hello po. Alam ko po, gusto ko lang po sana sabihin na ang galing po talaga mag-animate ni Sir Ed. Pero hindi ko rin po kinaya niya. Ang galing niya po talaga mag-acting kasi video po yun. Pero kunyari po sumasagot po siya ng tanong. Hindi ko kaya. Pero hindi po si Sir Ed ngayon. Nandito po siya ngayon. Pwede po magtanong, Sir, ng very slight lang po. Very little. Ayan po.
Yes po, yes po. I'm
Meron po
open to any question about animation.
Okay po, sige po. Ito po from Ethan Quadra from Zoom. Sabi niya po, why is hair so hard to do in 2D?
Okay. So, let me explain to you first, ang 2D animation, kapag pinapanood natin, is a series of drawings. So, sa isang second, sa isang segundo, ang pinaka-konti mong nakikita na picture ay 24. Yung sinasabi na 24 frames per second. So, in 1 second, you're seeing a series of pictures na different, unti-unting gumagalaw. So, in 1 second, you need to draw, kung 2D kasi drawing mo yan eh. So, kung ang gagawin mo ay hair, i-drawing mo yan isa-isa. Pagkatapos mo i-drawing mo pa ulit siya habang gumagalaw. So, para gawin mo siya ng isa-isang drawing lahat, talagang mahirap. So, siguro, baka yun yung sinasabi mo na mahirap. So, ngayon, ang ginagawa ng kung mapapansin niyo yung mga design ng mga animated na characters, ang buhok nila ginagawang buo, isang clump.
Yes.
Kasi para mas madali, ma-distinguish na yun yung part ng hair na gumagalaw. As compared sa maraming hair, mahirap i-drawing yung lahat eh. So, ayun, I hope I answered your question.
Okay, nasagot naman po. Pero sinabihan na po ko dito na, ay okay po. So, wait, parang meron pa po kung, pwede pa po 2? Last 2?
Sure.
Ayan po, okay po. Or baka, sige po, go. Yung pong sa materials po, kunyari po gusto ko po mag-MMA, mag-animation, multimedia arts po yung MMA, hindi po mixed martial arts. Para po sa mga hindi po nakakaalam, hindi po mixed martial arts. So para kung gusto po mag-multimedia arts or animation, meron po ba ako na before ko pa po mag-enroll, dapat meron po ko nito? Dapat po bang may camera? Dapat po may drawing tablet? Ano po bang, meron po bang essentials na need, na must?
That's a very, very good question, Kasi ganito, unang-una, bago ka mag-enroll sa MMA, dapat meron kang, alam mo yun, yung mahilig ka sa, it's either mahilig ka kumuha ng pictures, mahilig ka mag-drawing, mahilig ka magkulay, mahilig ka magbasa ng mga story, mahilig ka mag-critic ng mga story, ng mga movies. Either one of those, pwede ka mag-MMA. Ngayon, kung lahat yun meron ka, much better. Okay, doon sa next question na ano bang kailangan meron ka para ano. Kasi as an artist, I represent my ideas on different mediums. When I was still young, nagdo-drawing na ako sa buhangin, nakikita ng mga kalaro ko, ay, ang ganda ng drawing mo. Nagdo-drawing ako ng mga sea creatures sa buhangin. Pwede kang gumamit ng chalk sa, alam yung pag may nagpipiko-piko yung mga kalaro mo. So, ako nagdo-drawing ako ng iba. Ang dinodrawing ko si E.T. kung naabutan nila yung extraterrestrial na character na alien. Yun ang mga dinodrawing ko yung mga time na bata ako. What I mean is, you have every medium around you na pwede mong gamitin. So, ngayon, before going to college, ano nga ba yung importante na meron ka? In our times today, ang buhay natin halos kakakambal na natin ang computer at internet sa mga buhay-buhay natin dahil alam niyo naman ang panahon ngayon. pandemic. So, ang mga trabaho sa bahay na lang ginagawa. So, uh, in my own opinion, tingin ko dapat ang mga estudyante, before going to school, meron na silang is either a laptop or a PC na ready nila gamitin. Parang para kang bumili ng mga things mo before going to school. Bumili ka ng notebooks, mga books, mga pens, mga brush, mga paints. Kasi MMA tayo, so surely ang kailangan natin gamitin mga panggawa ng mga visual. So for me, kailangan mo mag-invest para kang mag-enroll ka, di ba? Siyempre mag-aaral ka, magbabayad ka ng pang-enroll mo. So in these pandemic times, kailangan mo magkaroon ng sarili mong unit na PC or laptop. I know, medyo mahirap ngayon pero kasi isa yun sa essential kasi kahit nag-aaral ka pa, kapag may natutunan ka na dun sa una mong subject, pwede ka nang tumanggap ng clients mo. What I mean is, pwede ka nang magtrabaho kasi meron ka ng laptop eh. And even pagka-graduate mo ng college, kung papasok ka ng trabaho, ang gagamitin mo rin, laptop din at saka PC.
Yes.
So ngayon pa lang, it's talaga affirmative na kailangan mo talaga magkaroon ng sariling unit, and that will be your uh, tawag dito, your arsenal. Yun yung magiging baril mo.
Bala. Yes.
Diba? So, ayun. I hope I answered the question also.
Yes. Very clearly naman po. Ito po from Facebook Live. Sir, okay lang pa rin po ba magtanong? Okay naman po.
Yeah.
Go lang. Marami po tayong bala dito. Ito po, from Ma'am Sia Ilagan, a fellow LPU educator like you. How can we prevent and avoid mediocrity in creative work when most local production companies, as you say, do things shortcut or minamadali?
Kahit ako, yan din ang dilemma ko eh. So, what I do is, kapag meron akong I think my creation is going to be patok. Ako na lang magpa-finance sa trabaho ko. Hindi mo na ako magtatrabaho. But I surely won't get salary. So, mahirap lalo na sa panahon natin ngayon. Di ba rin sana kung mayaman na tayo, hindi na natin kailangan magtrabaho. So, kaya usually, yung mga nakikita natin nagtatrabaho, napipilitan lang sila magtrabaho kasi wala namang choice eh, di ba? Pero kung mayaman sila, tulad yung iba, meron ako mga friends na mayayaman, gumagawa sila ng sarili nilang movie, story, and then binubuo nila yun bago nila ipinipitch sa ibang company. Like parang alam niyo yung Metanoia?
Yes, opo.
Maganda siya, di ba?
Yes.
Kasi binuo muna siya ng isang tao. Hindi muna siya nagtrabaho, marami siyang sweldo na hindi sinweldo, marami siyang tiniis na hindi mabili kasi ginagawa niya yung story na yon. And then after that, ipinitch niya sa isang client abroad, and then finance ng isang company, and then so nailabas siya ng maganda. So ayun. So kasi wala akong talaga mabibigay na straight answer doon sa tanong na yan kasi it's always a dilemma. Also for me, hanggang ngayon, hindi mo talaga masisigurado kung ano. Kasi like yung sabi ko, di ba, kung hindi ka mag-sweldo tapos gagawa ka ng gagawa, hindi mo naman alam kung mabebenta nga yun. Di ba? So, ayun, kaya yung karamihan, kinakagat na nila, sige kahit 2.5 na yung bayad, sige tatanggapin ko na lang yun. So, ayun. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, maganda nga po. Ito po from Facebook Live, related po ulit sa parang Hollywood and Philippines. So parang dilemma of like, bakit parang ang iba yung quality. From Facebook Live po, Ren Gabriel. Siguro po itong question na to, and then I have one last. Opo, after po nito.
Kahit marami pa yan, ihanda nyo.
Ay, okay po. Sige po. Kung ganun po, bring it in. Isang flood po natin yan, guys. So ito po, bakit hindi po gayahin na lang ng Philippine production ang process ng editing sa Hollywood? So maybe ang tinatanong niya po siguro is, dapat po bang pinipeg talaga natin yung Hollywood, or should we be proud and happy with what we have here? Kayo po.
Okay. Ganito kasi yan. Ang quality kasi, ang nagsiset ng quality ay yung budget ng producer. Budget, di ba?
Okay po.
Kasi ganito eh, halimbawa, may ano ka, meron kang goal na, ang gusto ko dito, yung effects na to, napakaganda. So, ganun kaganda yung gusto mo, hindi ka na may visual, pero papaliwan ka lang, kung ganun kaganda yung gusto mo, there's a certain amount of time para matapos yon. Like, syempre, para maging totoo, lagyan mo ng mga, kunyari, ano lang, bumagsak lang yung character mo, kunyari robot, bumagsak yung character mo, para maging totoo yon, unang-una, kailangan yung character mo meron shadow, may highlight, hindi flat yung kulay. Pangalawa, yung mga light na yan, dapat kaparehas ng background mo. Kung ang background mo sa labas ay kulay blue, dapat yung light na tumatama sa kanya, may pagkakulay blue din. So, yun. Tapos, pag bumagsak yan, ibig sabihin meron mga mangyayari na iba. Kunyari, meron siyang natamaan na puno, gagalaw din yung puno. Diba? Tapos, pag bumagsak siya, uuga dapat. Diba? Tapos, kapag ugatap, magkakaroon ng mga alikabok or something na nasisira, lahat yan, kailangan gawin. Ngayon, kung gagawin mo lahat yan, matagal. Ngayon, kung gusto mong mapabilis, ang magagawa mo lang yung bumagsak lang siya. Hindi mo na magagawa na may nag-interact siya dun sa puno, nagkaroon ng alikabok, nagkaroon ng may highlight na kakulay ng ano. So, pag makikita mo, ay, ano yung parang pinatong lang. Kasi ganun ang kinalalabasan ng trabaho natin. Kasi ang budget ng mga producers dito sa atin, maliit lang. Kasi ang iniisip nila, dito lang naman ang market natin eh. While compared sa Hollywood, sabihin natin, Hollywood, yung dito, yung isang linggong gagawin mo, isang linggong papatrabaho ng producer dito para maipalabas agad, sa Hollywood ginagawa yon 2 or 3 months. Isipin mo, compared yung 3 months na gawa nila sa 1 week na gawa dito, anong makukuha mo na maganda sa 1 week? So, yun kaya pumapangit ang production natin. Pero, tingnan nyo yung voltage fight.
Yes, sa GMA.
Marami nang nakakita ng teaser ng voltage fight, diba? Ang ganda niya, diba?
Opo.
So, Pinoy yung gumawa niyan. Bakit maganda? Kasi binigyan nila ng tamang time to be produced, to be done. Kaya siya maganda. I just hope na masustain yan hanggang end. Pero as for now, ang ganda niya. International quality, di ba? I guess mag-agree kayo sa akin. Pero Pinoy yung gumawa niyan, di ba? Ibig sabihin, kaya natin kahit Pinoy ka, kahit Hapon ka, kahit Amerikano ka, you can do everything right kapag binigyan mo ng time. So, yun yung kalaban nating mga Filipino productions, yung time. Kasi time equals money. So, yun. Sabi ko nga, syempre kung same work, isang work. Etong isa papagawa mo ng 1 linggo, etong isa papagawa mo ng 3 buwan. Di ba yung 1 linggo mong babayaran, etong 3 buwan, ibig sabihin parang 12 times mo siyang babayaran as compared dito. So anong mas matipid? Yung 1 week mo lang papagawa, di ba? So ayun yung money kasi pagdating.
Ayun po, I have actually so many questions po, pero sinasabihan na po ako ng nasa earpiece ko na kailangan na po hanggang dito na lang po tayo.
Sige. Thank you very much.
Sir, okay lang po. Actually, ang galing niyo po mag-explain. May nagsabi po, ang galing po talaga ng explanation.
Ay, thank you.
Ang galing niyo po mag-explain. Thank you po. Thank you po talaga. So thank you po, sir, and thank you guys sa mga nag-send in ng questions. If ever mamaya po in general, may tanong po kayo for our other 2 speakers, pwede pa rin naman po. Sige. Thank you po so much, Sir Ed. Thank you po.
Thank you very much.
It's such a pleasure. Okay po. So, thank you po, Sir Ed, for your enlightening talk. And mamaya, may chikahan pa po tayo with our other 2 speakers. Kaya send in your questions din po sa kanila, whether in FB Live or in Zoom. And in fact, baka sa akin naman po, meron din po kayong questions. Okay lang naman din po. Pero, to get things out of the way, para hindi na po kayo magtanong, opo, single pa po ako. Baka nagulat po kayo sa itsurang to, single pa rin. I'm surprised. I'm also perplexed. 21 years and counting po. And noon, naiinis ako tuwing sinasabihan ako, bakit single ka pa rin? Bakit ganon? Pero ngayon, hindi na ako takot matanong kasi alam ko na yung isasagot ko. Diba? Ngayon, kapag tinatanong ako, ay bakit single ka pa rin? Isa lang sagot ko, I'm just trying to stay true to my branding. Ganon. Branding ko na. Ginawa ko ng branding, di ba? I celebrated being single. And alam nyo, tamang-tama na pinag-uusapan natin ng branding. Kasi yan ang forte ng ating next speaker. Isa siyang graphic designer for marketing of key media. Guys, sabay-sabay nating pusuan sa FB Live ang ating next speaker, si Miss Carol Gabriel Antenor. Pusuan nyo guys, pusuan nyo. Dali, pusuan nyo. Sinasabi ko sa inyo.
Hello everyone. So I'll be delivering this webinar for you today and we'll be discussing all the basic things you need to know about branding. A brief introduction about me. Hi, nice meeting you all. I am Carol Antenor and I'm a senior graphic designer under Key Media. I'm gonna show you some of my works um, para mapakita ko sa inyo kung ano yung mga brandings or yung pagsunod sa company brandings that I usually do. Okay, so as you can see here, I made some book covers. Usually, I make book covers for science books or law or business books like that. So, the company branding here that I usually follow are the texts and the photos that are gonna be used. So, sa paggawa ng book covers for this certain company, kailangan laging nilalagay namin yung logo. Okay? So, number one, logo ng company, it should be on the front cover and on the spine, as you can see. Also, the typography, it should be at least on corporate style or kailangan formal yung mga typography na ginagamit namin. So, we cannot use playful typographies with curls. Okay? Also, the photos that should be used should not be staged. As much as possible, kailangan natural yung ginagamit na mga photos sa book covers na to. Okay? Also, I usually do marketing collaterals. If may mga exhibits na gaganapin, I do the collaterals for them depending on the company or the brands that we're gonna handle. So, in my company, we usually handle professionals like lawyers and doctors or human resource. So, um, it requires us to make designs that are professional looking. Tulad niyan, kailangan ang gagamitin naming mga images ay pasok pa din dun sa core values na gustong ipakita ng company. And of course, the colors na ginagamit namin, kailangan on-brand pa din. So, kung ang company namin ay nire-require na kailangan may touch of orange, kailangan lahat ng designs namin merong touch of orange na makikita. Also, the logos should always be visible. So, yun. Okay, yun lang po. Now, let's start. So, what is branding? Branding is basically how you determine a company's identity. Okay, so, and also, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in your room. So, ano yung pag-uusapan ng tao tungkol sa product nyo? So, yun si branding. Okay? So, kapag ka naisip mo na itong brand, certain brand na to ang gusto nilang ipalabas ay, kunyari, luxury brand sila. So, dapat, yung unang papasok sa isip ng tao, na, ay, pag nakita nila yung product na to, or narinig nila yung pangalan ng company nyo, luxury brands agad, yung may isip nila na ino-offer nyo. So, ganun si branding. Also, branding is not just a logo design. You can just design a logo and say, that's our branding. So, hindi lang nagpo-fall under sa logo nyo yung buong branding ng company. Always remember that. Branding is how people view and perceive your company. It's also how you as the owner and your workforce view and perceive the company. So as what I've said a while ago, kung ano yung iisipin ng mga tao and nang iisipin nyo tungkol dun sa company nyo, yun yung branding nyo. Okay? It will fall under, kailangan makikita nyo to yung objectives na to. Like, what are the core values of your company? What do they stand for? What makes your product unique? What are the selling points of your company? And who are your target customers? So lahat yun yung itatanong nyo to make your own branding. So yung core value, sino yung target customers nyo, ano yung nagpapa-unique sa offers nyo or sa services or sa products nyo. Okay, so hindi lang siya nagfo-fall under na pag sinabing branding, hindi lang siya nagfo-fall under na kailangan yung sa logo nyo o kaya yung mga collaterals nyo like business cards or websites. Kailangan magfo-focus kayo dun sa core values ng company na gusto nyo i-perceive sa market or sa mga tao. So, okay. So, a brand can be described as a company, services, product, or person that has a voice and personality of their own. So, kapag effective yung branding nyo sa company nyo, pag nakita pa lang nila yung product nyo, yun na yung may isip nila, may personality na ma-identify na agad nila na, this product is from this certain company. So, dun yung malalaman na effective yung branding nyo. Okay? Paano magiging effective ngayon yung brandings nyo? Like, paano nyo mapaperceive yung gusto nyong ipakita? Like, paano nyo ipaperceive yung core values ng company nyo or paano nyo matatawag yung target market nyo? So, ang gagamitin nyo doon ay yung brand identity. So, ano yung pinagkaiba ng brand identity kay branding? Si brand identity, siya yung face ng brand nyo. Okay? Yun yung ipapakita nyo, yun yung ihaharap nyo to explain your branding. So, kanina, di ba, na-explain natin, si logo, hindi lang siya yung nag-perceive sa branding nyo kasi under siya ng brand identity. So, brand identity includes logos, typography, colors, packages, and messaging, and it complements and reinforces the existing reputation of a brand. Brand identity attracts new customers to a brand while making existing customers feel at home. So, basically, sila yung hinaharap natin sa customers natin para malaman nila yung brand nyo. Okay, that's the brand identity. Sila yung logos natin, saka yung mga marketing collaterals natin. Very vital yung brand identity natin kasi kailangan consistent sila. So, kung ang gusto mong ipakita, kunyari, yung kulay ko, like yung may orange kanina, as what I presented, kailangan sa amin, dun sa ginagawa ko sa company ko, kailangan may touch of orange lahat ng collaterals ko. Kasi, ang brand identity nila is orange energy. So, kailangan laging may orange lahat ng collaterals para consistent and para pag nakita nila na yung orange na yun, alam na nila na dun sa company namin nanggagaling yung mga collaterals na yun. Okay? So, yun lang yung tatandaan nyo. Kailangan may consistency sa paggawa ng brand identity nyo. Okay? Kahit saan man yan. Kahit, kunyari, sabihin natin, nasa rules nyo, kailangan laging lalabas yung logo nyo. So, kahit saan yung gagawin nyo, kahit anong collaterals yung gagawin nyo, kailangan nandoon yung logo. Like, kunyari, gagawa kayo ng posters, kailangan may logo. Kahit maliit man yan, kailangan nandun yung logo since yun yung brand identity nyo. Gagawa kayo ng web banners that will be posted on a website. So, yung web banners na yon dapat may logos din yon. Even yung mga flyers na ilalagay nyo, ipopost nyo, or kahit yung mga ipapamigay nyo ng mga collaterals like mga bags, ballpens, kailangan may logos lahat yon. Para malaman ng tao alam nila agad na, etong certain product na to is from this company. Ganon siya. So, kailangan consistent ang brand identity. So, next. So, para malaman natin kung paano magiging effective yung brand identity natin, number 1, kailangan clear ang brand purpose and positioning natin. So, how can you say that? So, brand positioning is the process of making the purpose actionable. By naming your target customer and differentiating yourself from the competition, you lay the groundwork for your brand to accomplish your purpose. So, kailangan klaro yung branding nyo, yung purpose nyo, and dapat ma-identify nila yung difference ng company nyo or ng products nyo from their competitions or from the other companies. Okay? Next. So, dapat thorough market research. Before you design, kailangan talaga niyan, magre-research kayo. Kunyari, yan, a brand's purpose and positioning can be informed, at least in part, by market and customer research. Kailangan kasi alamin mo din talaga kung ano yung kailangan ng customers nyo or kung ano yung target market nyo, ano yung hinahanap nila under sa isang brand. Para malaman nyo din kung ano yung tamang designs na gagamitin nyo. So, kunyari ang target market nyo, mga bata. Syempre, yung mga gagamitin yung designs ay kung ano, depende sa gusto ng mga bata ngayon. So, titingnan nyo kung ano yung on-trend sa kanila. Like, ano yung mga kailangan nila or saan sila mas na-attract. Tulad ng cartoons. So, dapat, lalagyan nyo din, touch of cartoon, yung designs nyo para ma-attract nyo yung target market nyo. Next, memorable logo. So, your logo is central to your brand identity design. It's the piece of your brand identity that people will be exposed to the most. Syempre, number 1 yan si logo. Number 1 siya, always remember, number 1 si logo sa brand identity. Why? Kasi, yun yung laging nakaharap sa tao. Yun yung laging yung pine-present. Yun yung pinaka-expose. Kasi yun yung gagamitin nyo na face ng company nyo. So, dapat memorable yung logo na gagamitin nyo. Like this one. So, you can see yung Disney. So, this logo makes you think of nostalgia, magic, laughter, or something similar. Kasi playful yung script na ginamit kay Disney. Playful yung text na ginamit or yung typography. That, tinatawag niya na agad. Pagka nakita mo siya, may isip mo agad, mukhang magical. Magical yung itsura kasi playful yung typography na ginamit nila. Also, to increase your chances of having a memorable logo, ini-encourage nila, usually, ng mga designers na simplehan nyo lang yung itsura ng logo nyo. Okay, so, mas simple, mas maganda. Kasi, mas madali silang matatandaan ng tao at mas flexible sila. Paano mas flexible? So, ibig sabihin, kahit saan mo siya ilagay, babagay siya. Kahit gano'n siya kalaki, kahit gano'n mo siya i-scale, palaki or paliit, identifiable pa din sila. Ma-identify mo pa din sila. Kasi mas mabilis mag-imprint sa utak ng tao yung logo mo kapag simple lang siya at madali siyang intindihin. So, for example, ito, yung Apple logo, even the Google and the Coca-Cola. They are all simple. Simple lang yung typography na ginamit nila. Direct to the point. For the Google and Coca-Cola, direct to the point na yung typography nila. And for the Apple naman, niliteral nila na apple with a bite. So, simple lang siya, pero sobrang effective ng logos nila. Okay, so, kasi sabi dito, when a logo is simple, it becomes an open canvas customers can feel with positive experiences they have with the brand. Dahil nga sa sobrang simple ng logo nyo, open canvas na siya sa customers nyo. So, ibig sabihin, mas madali nilang matatandaan, mas madami silang maiisip tungkol dun sa brand nyo. Kasi, nagtatatak na sila sa utak. Nagtatatak na yung logo mo or na logo ng company sa utak ng customers. Okay? Next, attractive color palette. Siyempre, kasama din ang kulay sa pag-isip or paggawa ng branding or ng proper branding ng company. Usually, they use or we artists, we designers encourages to at least use 1 to 3 primary colors. Okay? Tapos, dapat alam mo din yung meaning ng mga kulay na gagamitin mo. Like, for example, kapag ka blue, it's relaxing. Kapag ka orange or red, it's exciting or appetizing. So, for example, sila Jollibee, ganyan, sila McDo. Usually, pag napansin nyo yung mga fast food chains, di ba, may touch of red kasi ang red is attracting to the eyes at pag nakita mo yan, appetizing or parang mas ma-excite ka sa pagkain. So, ibig sabihin, tama or proper, effective yung branding na ginamit ng company. Okay, next is typography. So, sa typography naman, fonts are very powerful. So, the most famous fonts are recognizable even without taken out of context. Okay, so tulad nung ginamit nga natin, nung napansin nyo kanina, yung Google, diba, sobrang effective nung typography na ginamit nila for their logo. Kahit sila, if you remember or if you can still visualize the logo of Amazon, simple lang din yung logo nila, simple text pero tumatatak sa utak. Okay, next. You'll want a single primary typeface to lead your brand design, and it should work well with your logo and your color palette. So, kunyari, sa amin, kapag mag-iisip ka ng bagay na typography, kailangan i-consider mo din na kung babagay siya dun sa logo ng company mo. So, kapag corporate, usually, dapat pipili ka ng mga simple logos lang, hindi ka dapat gagamit ng mga cursive or ng mga may curls. Kasi mawawala ka na sa branding or out of brand na. Kasi pagka corporate style, seryoso dapat or dapat formal yung dating ng designs. Okay? Unless kapag sa mga amusement parks naman, yung mga gamit mo or for Disney, there you can use playful typography. So, dapat babagayan mo din siya. Depende sa company or depende dun sa core values or dun sa branding na gustong ipakita ng company nyo. Okay? So, for example, dito. Pagka kinumpare nyo yung dalawang image sa left and sa right, ano yung mas okay? Diba mas bagay yung nasa left? Yung bakery. Kasi, ang odd tingnan, kapag gumamit ka nung bakery na typography sa right, kasi hindi siya bagay sa cupcake. Mas bagay siya for mga horror posters or mga grunge posters. So, yun, titingnan mo din talaga kung babagay ba dun sa brand or dun sa product na binibenta mo or minamarket mo, yung fonts or yung typography na gagamitin mo. Okay? Next, images. So, malaking part din ang images or yung paggamit ng mga images sa brand identity. Bakit? Kasi, mas yun yung nag-showcase. Bukod sa logo natin, images, nakaka-attract siya ng attention sa market or sa mga tao. Kaya, depende din sa branding nyo or sa gusto nyong gawing identity ng brand nyo, yung paggamit ng mga images nyo. So, for example, for corporates, so dapat, ang gagamitin nilang images ay mga formal images na, like, kunyari, mga tao na, if kailangan ko, gagawa ko ng design for lawyers. So, yung mga images na gagamitin ko doon, kailangan formal din to attract lawyers. So, dapat yung mga models ko doon, mga nakasuit, or yung office settings, office setup, or in court. Kapag ka playful naman, like kunyari gagawa tayo ng sa Enchanted Kingdom, gagawa tayo ng poster ng Enchanted Kingdom. So, dapat ang gagamitin kong image doon, it's either family that are playing inside Enchanted Kingdom or kids na naglalaro. Candid shot ng kids na naglalaro or nag-enjoy sa rides. So, malaking factor si photos, lalo na kapag gagamitin nyo siya sa collaterals nyo para mapaganda lalo yung design and para ma-align dun sa branding identity na gusto nyong ipakita. Okay. So, after that, pagka pinagsama-sama nyo lahat yun, kailangan, always remember, bagay sila dapat lahat. So, dapat yung clear yung vision nyo para makita yung brand or yung brand ng company nyo, clear yung vision nyo kung ano yung core values ng company nyo or kung ano yung gusto nyo ipakita. Dapat accurate yung colors, bagay sila sa fonts, bagay yung colors nyo sa fonts, bagay yung images nyo, and of course, the logo, lahat yun dapat bagay silang lahat sa isa't isa. So, dapat walang oddball doon sa mga sinabi natin na yun, like the colors, the fonts, and the images. Dapat lahat sila nag-work all together para makabuo kayo ng magandang branding identity. Saka dapat, always remember, yun nga, dapat consistent kayo. Okay? So, yun lang, I think, that's it. So, dapat lagi niyong tatandaan, you should always be consistent with your brand identity. So, kapag nakapili na kayo ng kulay na gagamitin nyo, let's say, ang napili nyong colors are blue and white. So, dapat yung dalawang yun, consistent yun sa lahat ng artworks na gagamitin nyo. Pag nakapili na kayo ng typography nyo, dapat yung font style na yun yung gagamitin nyo all throughout your collaterals. Para pag nakita nila na, itong font style na to, nakita ko na to, gamit to nitong company na to. Okay? Of course, the pictures, yung ibang companies kasi nire-require nila, dapat hindi masyadong stage yung photos na gagamitin. Okay, kahit stock photos yan, yung iba, pinipili nila na mas mukhang dapat natural looking yung photos na ginagamit para mas engaging tingnan sa mga tao. Okay, so kapag ka ganun yung ginawa nyo or ganun yung napag-desisyonan nyo na ilalagay nyo for your brand identity, dapat all throughout all of your collaterals, lahat ng gagamitin yung images ay candid or hindi stage. Okay? Or hindi siya photoshoot or yung nasa studio. Okay? Of course, kahit may may sinusundan tayong company branding or company or brand identity, you're always welcome to think out of the box. Think out of the box. Masaya siya, basta nag-e-enjoy ka. Yun lang. Madami ka pa din namang matututunan along the way. Basta kailangan lang nag-e-enjoy ka sa work mo and think out of the box para mas mapaganda pa yung branding na ginagawa nyo or yung mga collaterals na ginagawa mo for your company. So, I think that's it. I hope you learned something from me. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask away. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you po, Miss Carol, for that very insightful talk. Again, if you have any questions for her later, pwede nyo naman po i-comment sa FB Live or i-chat dito sa Zoom. O ayan, sa mga plano magpalit ng DP nila sa Facebook, this is a sign na kailangan nyo nang mag-rebranding. Kailangan align ang DP nyo sa bagong branding nyo. Dapat may attractive color palette. Diba? Kung gusto nyo maging appetizing, mag-red kayo. Okay? At syempre, dapat yung image candid. O papakitaan ko kayo ng candid. Ganon. Ganon. Candid dapat. At di lang dapat sa FB yan ha. Lahat na ng media yan. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, lahat. Multimedia dapat. hindi nyo pa alam kung paano mag-utilize ng iba't ibang media, huwag kayong mag-alala dahil ang next speaker natin ay expert dyan because she was a former TV producer for lifestyle and edutainment shows. Diba? Baka nagtataka kayo, ano ba yung edutainment? Well, edutainment is a combination of two words. Una is yung edu, yung edu. Yan yung tunog na ginagawa ng tao pag nangahatching siya. Edu. Okay, joke lang. Ito, serious na. Yung edu, actually, yung edu is yun yung pangalan ng tatay ni Luis Manzano na host ng Game Ka Na Ba? Si Edu Manzano. Okay, tapos na guys, tapos na. Pero hindi ako nalalayo kasi si Edu Manzano na naging host ng Game Ka Na Ba, ang Game Ka Na Ba is an example of an edutainment show. It's a quiz show na meron ding educational value kasi may mga tanong, pero entertaining din siya. Di ba lagi siya nagsasayaw before? Okay, so ang edutainment is educational and entertainment combined. So, ngayon, to give us an educational and entertaining talk, may I now call on our next speaker, Miss Therese Monica La Forteza. Hi, Miss Therese.
Hi, CK, and hello, everyone. Okay, you can see na my presentation.
Yes po.
All right. So, thank you sa very edutaining mo din na intro. So, I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to share with you why storytelling for multimedia platforms is actually a essential skill to have, not only as a student and as a creative person, but actually in life. Kasi ginagamit na natin yung storytelling every day. And hopefully through a course such as this, it will help you realize different mediums or different platforms rather that you can use. Kasi hindi lang naman sa libro makikita ang isang story, hindi lang siya when you are reading or writing something. Especially now in the digital era or the digital world that we are living in, there are so many ways that we can express ourselves. So, before I go ahead and define in a way what storytelling for multimedia platforms is, I just want to introduce myself again. Next slide, please. Again, I'm Therese La Forteza, and I am a former TV producer. So that means that I write, I don't finance it. I work for production houses or a TV network, and I am given the opportunity to tell stories through writing scripts, shooting videos, and I was able to work closely with a lot of creatives. I'm sure a lot of people out here are really going towards the creative path of graphics, editing, photos and videos, photography, even just expressing themselves through their art, maybe someday having their own exhibit in the gallery. So I was able to work with a lot of creatives, and we got to do a lot of stories when it came to people, personalities, even sports, food, and travel. So I would somewhat say that I have had some experience in storytelling and showing it in broadcast media. And it spilled over to multimedia or digital media kung saan may YouTube na kasi, may mga podcasts na. So, let's go ahead and define ano nga ba ang storytelling. So, for our next slide, it shows here that storytelling, by definition, isa na siya sa mga pinakalumang art forms, and very valuable siya when it comes to expressing ourselves as a species, as humans. You know, we speak, we communicate, we exchange ideas and interests. And even when we were younger, I'm sure marami sa inyo nakakaalala yung mga kwento ng mga lola o kaya binabasahan kayo ng mga magulang nyo ng paborito nyong storybook, or some stories you've had about your ancestors, friends, and if you can recall the stories that you remember the most and the information that you remember the most are from stories that that created an impact, inspired you, may hugot sa inyo emotionally, yun yung tumatak talaga sa inyo. So again, by definition, storytelling, it does say here, according to the National Storytelling Network, that it uses words. But I don't think it's limited to that anymore, because in a painting, in a picture, in a Twitter post, you can already express, even in just the way you angled the shot when it comes to an image or a video, you can already tell your story or the story that you want to convey. And also, it encourages the active imagination of the listener. So, nandun tayo sa it's engaging, it connects us. There's that human connection. So, for our next slide, what we want to define also is why it's important. Again, I mentioned, okay, essential skills siya. Ano bang ibig sabihin nun? Kasi ang storytelling, hindi natin nare-realize na every day we use that to express ourselves, to teach someone, to help someone, to inspire, to make them feel how we feel. Maybe because we want to have that, because we are social beings, we want to be able to connect to that, and also it's engaging. So, what does it mean pag engaging ang isang story? Ano ba yung mga elements na dapat meron nun? So, sa next slide natin, we will discover, because I was really researching, because again, storytelling was always part of my work before, and then in everyday life, you know, you read stories, you see stories, you think about stories when you see a specific incident or an object. So what are the elements? And I came upon this TED Talk, and her name is Ashley Fell, and she discussed about why storytelling is so powerful in the digital era. So it has the 4 I's. Yung interest, it sparks interest. Siyempre, ang isang story, if it's something that you can relate to, or if it's something that may have happened to you or what, it sparks your interest. It instructs you, meaning it educates you, there's meaning to it, and in a way, it's value also in that story. I appreciate a lot of the videos I see now. My kids always watch YouTube videos also. Maraming yung mga unboxing, or let's say what's the newest toy, or mga reaction videos, and that's very entertaining. And I enjoy that. But we also would like to have stories that have value in it, educational, hindi lang siya something na pag nadaanan, makakalimutan mo na, or it's just background noise or background activity when you are going about your day or doing something else. It involves you. It encourages you to feel something, to participate. Parang gusto mong ituloy yung kwento. And I think we see a lot of this in mga TV series or mga memes nga ngayon eh. Minsan, as simple as that, it can pull out a reaction from you, and that is how we can define it, as it involves you kasi gusto mo may masabi ka about it, or kahit na ayaw mo, you can't help but react to it because that specific creative output and the way it showed the story, hindi mo ma-help. Gusto mo talagang may masabi or may ma-react ka doon. And also, again, it inspires you. And I think now more than ever, we need to remember that the information that we put out there through stories, through your creative output, which is the drawing that you did, the photo that you took, must inspire. I think more than this is the perfect time to create inspiring works, and that is a very powerful and engaging story in itself when it creates inspiration. Parang pag napa-flip ka dun sa isang page, sa Facebook page mo and you have an image that is inspiring, you know that you've created an impact on someone in another in a thousand miles away, thousands of miles away, sorry. And ganun ka powerful ang storytelling because nga you have inspired. Finally, the three components. And a lot of you are creative students and creative professionals. And I'm sure this will, you can relate to this a lot. Three components is color, picture, and movement. And as the previous two speakers have said, you know, they discussed a lot about the color, the animation, the way it moves, the way a specific color expresses, the typography. So that in itself, the animation that you saw and how it was created, the well thought of logos that you saw is already expressing a story in itself in the brand or in the commercial or that specific shot na may special effects. That in itself is giving out a very powerful and engaging story. Also, yun, so movement doesn't necessarily mean just videos. It can be the way your paintings have been laid out in the gallery. That's also considered movement. It's the way the book flips. Marami nga, kunyari, mga pop-up books, comics. In gaming, there's a lot of movement. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So that in itself has the three important components of a powerful and engaging story. So next would be how to tell great stories. So in our next slide, again, this is also research. And this was written by Brian G. Peters, and he discussed about the 6 rules of great storytelling as told by Pixar. So a lot of you are familiar. Ito yung mga characters ng Pixar. So these are what they shared. And just to run through it quickly, great stories are universal. It has to be something na nakaka-relate ka. Kasi you can't automatically think na Monsters University or Monsters Inc. is something that you can relate to, but it is the story in itself, it's acceptance, it's not stereotyping. Monsters, you know, they're good guys too. So that gave a good component to that story. Next would be great stories have clear structure and purpose. And I think this is what we talk about when we want to see the value in it and the meaning of the story that you want to convey. Marami tayong nakakita, kunyari, mga very short videos, animation, or even just images. But when it's a good one, and there's something really behind, there's a meaning to it, then that's what clear structure and purpose is. Next would be great stories have character to root for, and usually they like the underdog. And I think in Filipino culture, mahilig din tayong mag-cheer on dun sa mga naapi minsan kasi you can relate to it eh. Not everybody is always the dominant character or can relate to the dominant character in a story. Kaya talagang minsan you can't help but continue the series. Puyat ka na or i-analyze mo talaga yung image na nakita mo. Kasi gusto mo makita yung puso at reason nung inaaping character at gusto mo makita na umangat siya sa buhay, siya na yung naging successful, pero mabait pa rin siya, hindi siya vengeful. So another one would be great stories appeal to our deepest emotions. And of course, who doesn't want to be able to emotionally connect with a story? I'm sure CK will agree. He has deep emotions in a story, and I'm sure he's one of those people who would really love to value those kinds of stories. Next is, great stories are surprising and unexpected. And of course, you want stories na hindi mo na mapre-predict kung ano yung mangyayari. Gusto mo may mga twists, exciting siya. And even through your graphics, the way you create or edit down your videos, or color it. You want something that will appeal to the audience pero hindi nila in-expect. It's not the usual. Of course, fresh yun sa mata mo, in your eyes. So something unexpected and surprising is an essential for a good story. And finally, great stories are simple and focused. So we have all these elements, but at the end of the day, with the so many characters and the different kinds of animation, the different colors and effects, you also realize that the moral of the story or the gist of the story is simple and focused, and that's why it becomes relatable, and that's why you remember it, and it becomes your favorite artwork, it becomes your favorite show, because nga it is, at the end of the day, it is simple and focused. Okay, finally, for our next slide, we will see the different multimedia platforms that you can use to tell your stories. So, we'll start off in our next slide, which is traditional media. At yun naman yung mga kinalakihan na natin and we still use. Traditional media is TV, it's been there for years, print, it's theater, it's drawings, paintings, exhibits, flyers. So, yun yung traditional media. Next would be your digital media. Next slide. And digital media is what I've mentioned nga, and it's what we use. It's like a basic tool that we have already, especially after the happenings in 2020. You know, everybody's online, so that is digital media. And traditional media, kahit pa paano, it spills over na rin, no? Yung TV nyo, nagsistream na siya sa YouTube, billboards, ads, the like, you can already see it inside Facebook, Instagram, you can search it in your Google, and you can listen to your radio shows in podcasts. Okay, next please. Next, this is still additional forms of digital media. So yung infographics. Infographics to me is, I really like it because there's graphics in it, the layout, and then you have essential data that you won't, minsan kasi pag Excel file, nagzo-zone out tayo. Pero the way they present it in an infographic, because we are very visual people and it's a very visual world, we retain the information more through infographics. And then we also have yung mga streaming websites or apps, which is like Netflix, where we watch our shows. And Wattpad is an example of a website or app wherein writers and readers are a community. They share their stories there. And then I think you can also share your feedback there. Finally, because digital media progresses, we now have, under that, we have social and interactive media. So if we see in our next slide, ayan, social and interactive media is what you use on a daily, which is your Facebook, Twitter, tapos in this case, there's TikTok, messaging, you know, where you get to engage, you get to exchange messages, interests, thoughts, and also in gaming. Next slide, please. Other forms of social and interactive media, I did a bit more of research. I think some of the top games are Fortnite, Mobile Legends, and there's really stories in those. The characters, the way you have to go through obstacles. Then you have Kumu, which is another popular new app. Twitter, a lot has happened. It's a pioneer, and a lot has happened when it comes to being engaged in this form of media. And then I also stumbled upon Google Art and Cultures, wherein you can virtually go to the exhibits of different famous museums. So this is also very interactive and is under digital media. Okay. Next is, tsaka even sa local, I think we have a lot of local games also. You can see a lot of stories that are influenced by Filipino culture. Okay. Next slide. So in our next slide, it's just a run through of possible careers. If you go through the course focusing on storytelling in different multimedia platforms, you are basically getting into the field where opportunities allow you to send messages, exchange ideas. And napaka-broad na nito, no? There's communication, even in technology, the arts, definitely, education, business. Data and content, parang yung sa infographics, because you want creative output and you want your audience to be able to digest the information. So you put out the story creatively through your infographic. Okay. And finally, in the last slide that we have, I just wanted to leave you with this quote that I recently watched from this writer. Her name is Chimamanda Adichie. She's a Nigerian writer. And she discussed about the dangers of a single story. So what does that mean? For example, in the Philippines, madalas na si stereotype ang isang Filipino or yung kultura natin kasi not enough stories are put out there. There's always many ways in sharing a story about a specific topic through the creative output that you have. So especially for those who aspire to really express themselves creatively and get into a field or into a career where you will be allowed to still be creative, storytelling is essential kasi all your stories matter. And there's always a story that should be told. There's always something that can be shared there when it comes to storytelling. And it's through your creativity and it's through the way you see the world that you can build those stories and share those messages, because you never know who you're going to empower, who you're going to educate, what interest you're going to spark in another being or in another group through the stories that you say. So all in all, what this whole course is really emphasizing is no matter what kind of creative output you choose to use, whether it's painting or graphics or typography, or even photography, videography, um, always have a valuable story or a story that matters to you. Always say it through your artwork, because it is one of the most powerful tools in creating, as they say, regaining a kind of paradise, because you open the minds of a lot of people, a lot of communities when it comes to the way you say or you express the stories that you want to talk about or you want to get out there. So there, that is our discussion, or that is the course about storytelling for multimedia platforms. Thank you.
Ayan, thank you po, Mr. Reese.
Thank you.
Okay. So, ayan, 3 out of 3 of our speakers have finally spoken. Ngayon, sino sa tingin nyo ang karapat dapat maging big winner? I-text nyo na to 2366. Ayan na. Siyempre, hindi pa matatapos ang ating webinar kung walang Q&A. And if gusto nyo pa humabol, pwede pa naman kayo mag-send. Send nyo lang dito sa kanila yung questions. And by the way, Miss Carol is not available for the Q&A, but nandito si Sir Giselle to fill in for. So, hi Sir Giselle. So, siya ang sasagot sa mga tanong nyo for her. So, ano bang uunahin natin? Mga tanong ba sa FB Live or tanong sa Zoom? Ang sagot ay none of the above, kasi dapat ang inuuna ay sarili. Yung mga natamaan siguro. Okay, pero ito na po. Okay, first question. Ayan. Feeling ko po maganda po na in general, para I guess kahit pa paano, all people. Sir Ed, nandiyan po ba kayo?
Yes po, nandito
Ayan
po.
po. And then, Sir Giselle, nandiyan po ba kayo?
Narinig po ninyo ako? Do you
Yes,
hear
read
me?
naman
Yes,
po.
we can hear you po,
Ayan.
sir.
Okay. Present lahat. Naku, feeling ko ako yung prof na nag-check ng attendance. Ganito pala yung feeling, ang powerful. Okay. So, una po, gusto ko po tanungin for all, when you were a child, did you imagine you would have the career you have now? So siguro start po tayo sa sequencing ng pong talks, si Sir Ed. Sa tingin niyo po, animator po ba kayo ng bata pa lang? Did you imagine that? For you po, sir.
I think I'm on the career that I have imagined when I was still small. Ang gusto ko kasi talaga mag-entertain eh. So I want to, yung mga naisip ko, gusto ko ipakita. So I think, ito talaga yung gusto ko bata pa ako. So yes.
Okay po. Which is good. Kayo po, mysteries. Ay, si ano po pala muna, si Sir Giselle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Kayo po, sir. Did you imagine you would be in marketing or in branding when you were a kid?
Okay, presently I'm a designer.
Ay, designer po. Okay.
Designer and professor. Okay, sa Lyceum. Hindi. Nung maliit ako, hindi ko pa ma-imagine na magiging designer po ako. Bakit po? Kasi yung pamilya po namin, panay doktor, panay engineer, panay teacher, and so on and so forth. Wala pong designer po. Wala pong nagdo-drawing. Tingin po, nung panahon kasi namin, parang yung pagdo-drawing, hobby lang po yon. So when I entered college, I took up a science course. A pre-med course. Gusto ko maging doktor. But things happened and eventually I ended up sa College of Fine Arts, natapos, and I'm happy po dito po nabagsak.
Wow. It worked out for the best naman po because you're here now. So
Opo.
thank you, Sir Michelle. Kayo po, mysteries. Did you imagine you would be telling stories, producing, gano'n?
I think I did. Actually, ang babaw ng story. Kasi nung maliit ako, lagi ako nanonood ng TV. Tapos picture tube pa yun, di ba? Yung malapad yung likod. Hindi siya LCD ngayon. And I remember I was by myself and I was really wondering kung paano yung mga tao nandun sa TV. And believe it or not, pumunta ako sa likod ng TV. Hello! Gumagano ako sa TV. So, maybe I was 7 or 8 years old. And then I think that's where the interest really started. Tapos, madalas kasi aabangan mo talaga sa TV yung mga National Geographic, yung mga documentaries. And I really knew that I wanted to create shows. Not necessarily right at that time, but I guess it goes hand in hand.
Okay. So ito po, ngayon po, medyo magiging personal po tayo. Kasi may nagtanong po dito from Francesca Padama. May pinadama siya sa atin. Ano pa po siya? Pero kay Sir Ed dapat to. Pero I think it can work for in general. Kasi meron po tayo ditong producer, illustrator, and animator. So tanong niya po, binabasa ko lang po talaga to. Tanong po talaga to ni Francesca. Good afternoon po. Ano po ba yung estimated / range ng salary pagdating sa pag-work sa production, pero in this case, in your field, sa Philippines? Is it rewarding po ba kasi well-earning job or pahirapan po? So let's start po siguro, reverse naman po, mystery. So as a producer, kahit di po, wag po tayo magnumero kasi baka marami pong Pero ayun po, sa tingin niyo po, salary-wise, what do you think?
Salary-wise, I think it can be fair. It can be fair. We cannot compare it to the salaries abroad. You know, we have our specific salary. And like in all jobs naman, I think in the Philippines, it can be fair really depending on who you work for, ano yung project, what are you shooting, commercials pay more, the network, it really depends on the project. So, sa salary, it will really depend on, yun nga, ano yung outfit na pagtatrabahuan mo. Pahirapan, it really depends on you. Kasi, nandun talaga yung puyatan, pagod ka, may time na tutuhog ka ng mga shoot, tapos pagbalik mo, hindi ka pa pwedeng umuwi, mag-edit ka, tapos may final preview, tapos at that time, it's news and public affairs yung show namin. So, 1 week lang yung time namin from brainstorming to shoot, edit, graphics, finalize, and then air na. So, minsan 1 week kang hindi uwi. Pero, I wouldn't say na pahirapan kasi it's really your outlook eh. It's your outlook in life and what you really want to gain out of it. So, I think in anything that you do, if you're not really into it or if you're, I don't want to use the word passion kasi gas-gas na yun eh. Pero if you really do not want to persevere or if you're not really into it, if it's not something that you want to excel in or you're not sure of, it might be difficult. Pero kung sure ka or rather talagang determined ka na gusto mo gawin yung project na to or ito yung linya na gusto mo talagang subukan, then it is manageable. Marami namang mahirap talaga pero manageable siya.
Okay. So, dito naman po, Sir Giselle, kayo po, sa tingin niyo po, as an illustrator, ano po ba mga nai-illustrate niyo po ba to be specific?
Okay, actually, aside from being an illustrator, actually I worked in an advertising agency for the longest time and naging senior art director po ako. And illustration is just one of the things that I do.
Okay po.
Okay, so in terms of yung sweldo po, open naman sa public yun. Meron pang Facebook page, yung mga, yung tawag na ICAP, if you're familiar, yung mga creative people, they join that. And public naman yan yung prices. And well-paid, iba-iba po kasi yung mga creative. Meron photographer, meron yung mga production designer, may art director, and so forth. Marami po babaksakan if you get into MMA. And as an art director, it's one of the highest paying jobs sa may creative, especially if you're working for an advertising agency. Umaabot po ng, okay, name a figure, umaabot po ng 6 figures per month. Ganun. So, ganun po. It's well paid, matrabaho lang po. So, yung being a designer, hindi lang limited po sa pagde-drawing. Marami po. In fact, you could not draw, but you could be a creative person. Okay. So, huwag kayong matakot. Yung mga nakikinig dito, naghahanap ng kanilang career path. Kahit di kayo magaling mag-drawing, okay, pwede kayo pumasok sa may fashion designer and so on and so forth. So, yun po. Okay?
Thank you po, Sir Giselle. Ayaw, may 6 figures daw. O, alam niyo na. Sir Ed, 6 figures din po ba sa animation?
I can agree with Sir Giselle and also to Mysteries. I agree to both of them. Ano nga, totoo yun eh. Sinasabing pahirapan po ba? Of course, lahat ng trabaho meron diyang mahirap na part. As in yung mga gusto mo na umuwi pero hindi ka makauwi. So mahirap yun siguro. Pero tulad din ng sabi ni Mysteries na kung meron kang goal na gusto mo kailangan mong maabot, hindi mo mararamdaman yung hirap eh. Hindi yun ang magiging hindrance sa iyo. Basta do what you want if that's your sabihin ko na nga rin yung passion, hindi naman ginamit ni Mysteries. Ano mo na lang, just look on the bright side na this project will give me a hard time but this will also be my ticket to do another project, di ba? At yun yung kumbaga, basta ilagay mo yung lahat ng makakaya mo dun sa gagawin mo, magagawa at magagawa mo. Ngayon, pagdating doon sa salary, I agree to Sir Giselle kapag and also kay Mysteries kasi depende nga sa kliyente mo. So, you can either get a 6-figure salary for a project or a 5-digit salary.
3 digits.
Kawawa naman.
Higher.
Four naman siguro, pero yung kawawa naman kung 4 digits. Di naman siguro pwede. So para lang ma-imagine ng mga nagtatanong, lalo na yung mga students na hindi nila alam, para din kayong mag-invest ka talaga ng time para gawin mo yung best project mo. So kapag meron ka ng best project na may papakita sa client mo, you can get client who can pay you six-figure salary or for 4-digit to 5-digit salary depending on your last work. So, kung habang nasa school ka, tulad ng sinasabi ko sa mga students ko, yung mga pinapagawa ko sa inyo, gawin nyo lang dahil yan ang magiging ticket nyo para sa magiging trabaho nyo paglabas nyo dito sa college. That's why yung ibang students ko talagang ano sila, ginagawa na talaga nila yung mga yung best nila. Marami akong mga samples nga kanina nakakatuwa kasi in short span of time, hindi ko ma-imagine na makakagawa sila ng mga ganong creations. So, ayun, para ka rin minsan tumataya sa sugal eh. Pero, hindi, I would not say that. Ano pala, just do your best and the best will come to you. Parang karma. Ewan, hindi ko maano.
Sana good karma. Sana good karma. Yes. Okay po. So, thank you po, Sir Ed. Okay, so ngayon po, to specific questions, dito po kay Miss Therese, meron po nagtanong from Miss Tia Ilagan, one of your fellow colleagues din po sa LPU Manila, a fellow educator.
Okay.
Sabi po ni Miss Tia, what's your advice for students who want to get into media but feel that they don't really write or speak well? O kaya kunyari po, tulad ko, mahiyain. Ano pong advice niyo?
Sobrang hiyain.
Sobra po, as in,
Well, when it comes to media, I graduated from a general course kasi Communication and Media Studies. So, hindi pa katulad ngayon na sobrang specific, na journalism, broadcasting. So, I think the beauty with the programs now is that kahit mahiyain ka or you're not yet confident in writing or speaking, you will really be encouraged by your professors and even your fellow classmates to try at the very least. Kasi magkakaroon talaga kayo ng mga project wherein, sige na, ikaw na yung host or hindi, gumawa tayo ng drama or comedy, mga ganyan. And you will really be exposed to it when you start in your education when it comes to media. And then, sa multimedia naman, again, you can express yourself through different forms of art. So there's the drawing, the animation, the painting, photography, and videos. You can use the tools, the equipment to express yourself or to create the story or just to express your feelings or your emotions or thoughts through those.
Okay, thank you po, Miss Therese. Kasi actually, alam niyo po, kung magugulat po kayo, ako po ang course ko is broadcasting sa LPU. Hindi ko alam kung gusto nila sabihin ko yung kasi baka mamaya may masabi ako dito na hindi pala please, hindi ayaw nila malaman na dito ako nag-aaral. Baka kasi may nanonood sabihin, ay, taga-LPU pala. Tama bang i-enroll ko anak ko? Baka maging tulad yan. Well, actually, broadcasting po, and magugulat po kayo, ito po, ako po ang pinakamahiyain sa broadcasting. Hindi nyo lang po alam. So, just a sneak preview. Pero, I think, ayun nga po, parang I guess, the point is, tulad po ng sabi ni Sir Ed kanina, siguro tanungin din po natin si Sir Ed. Sir Ed, sabi niyo po kanina, kung hindi pa po kayo ganun karunong, let's say, ng drawing, kunyari po ako, stick figures lang po alam ko kunyari. Sa tingin niyo po ba may pag-asa pa po ba umabot sa level ng The Simpsons yung drawings ko or umabot ng Rick and Morty levels? What do you think po?
Of course naman. Kasi ganito yan eh. Lahat naman tayo nagsisimula sa pangit na drawing eh. Even yung mga great artists, nagsisimula yun sa pangit na drawing. Kaya lang gumaganda yung drawing nila. They practice every day. Kasi gusto mo yun eh. So, you will learn by yourself. Kasi kahit ako noon, stick drawing din ang una kong drawings eh. And then, dahil gusto ko matuto, may nakikita ako ng mga classmates ko na nag-drawing sila. Ay, paano niya ginawa? Tinitingnan ko. I appreciate kung paano niya ginagawa. And then, natututo ako. And then, sabi ko, paano kaya sila nakakagawa ng ganun drawing? Yun pala, so natututo ako. Nakita ko meron pala silang mga reference. May mga ginagayahan sila. Akala ko pag mag-drawing ka, dapat sa sarili mo lang. Hindi pala. Dapat pala may mga reference ka, may gagayahan ka. And kakambal noon ay practice ng practice, drawing ng drawing. Ngayon, sa time natin ngayon, mas madaling matututo ang mga estudyante mag-drawing kasi ang daming mga tutorials sa YouTube, bukod sa mga teacher na magtuturo sa kanila, mag-guide sa kanila, ang dami nilang makikita ng mga references, isang click lang sa internet, meron na. Noong araw, hindi eh. So, ang kailangan talaga, practice, 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 practice. Hindi pwedeng hindi ka gagaling. Ayun.
Okay. May pahabol po pala si Ethan. Sabi niya po, Sir Ed, what is a good special effects software na free? Kasi I'm very broke as a student. I can relate sa broke na part. Ethan. Pero kayo po, sir, ano pong magandang special effects software na pwede gamitin ni Ethan na free?
Okay. Sagutin ko muna kung ano yung ginagamit ko ha.
Okay po.
Sa akin, ang ginagamit ko ay After Effects ng Adobe. And I think madali lang naman siya ma-acquire. Hindi ko na lang sasabihin dito, PM mo na lang ako kung paano. Tapos ganito, kung gusto mo ng free software, marami dyan mga emerging free softwares na for testing pa lang, mga beta type. You can research sa internet, marami yan, magagamit mo. Pero pag yan sumikat na, pabibiliin ka na ng lisensya. Pero there's always emerging mga software na in-testing, magagamit mo sila for free. So, ayun. Ayun, I answered.
Thank you po. Sana naman, Ethan, afford mo ang Adobe and Adobo in the coming years. Okay. Ito po si Sir Giselle. Gusto ko na po, naka-on na po yung cam niya. Hi, Sir Giselle. Gusto ko lang po magtanong, since sa advertising po kayo, it's about promoting a product. Diba? Nagkaroon po ba ng time na may nag-approach po sa inyo na company or brand na hindi aligned sa views nyo, yung parang gusto nila i-promote or something? Nagkaroon na po ba ng time na gano'n?
Marami po. Marami.
Okay. How do you handle that?
Bali, as an advertiser po, understand po, yung role po natin is to educate the client. Minsan po lalapit sa yung kliyente, hindi nila alam anong gusto nang gawin. So, knowing that, so mag-research kayo. So, mag-ask kayo ng question sa client, ano bang gusto niyang gawin? Ito po, ano bang produkto niya? Then you ask questions, you research. And from that, you propose yung ideas ninyo. And usually naman, nakikinig sila. But if there's client na talaga, meron din mga kliyente na parang yung gusto nilang gawin, you try your best to convince them na, sir, ito yung tama based on the research. Always answer with research. Ito yung research po. Kasi papakinggan na yung research eh. Pag meron kang proof na mas effective yung ganito, they will listen. Okay. So yun yung advice ko. Always show research. So to convince your client. Pag ayaw talaga ng kliyente, then gawin natin gusto nila gawin.
Ayun. So thank you po. So ngayon po, I think malapit na po mag-5. So I think it's time na parang mag-last words na po para makakuha po ng boto sa madlang people. Ano po ang last words nyo po para sa mga, let's say, hindi pa nila alam kung anong gusto nilang tahakin in general? Like, for someone like me, 21 years old, single, lost, I don't know where to go. Ano pong advice nyo po para sa career? So let's start po with Mysteries. Ayan po. As a storyteller, as a producer, ano pong advice nyo for lost kids like me?
Lost kids. I don't think you're lost. I think you already know what you're gonna get into. But I think what I will encourage is be brave. Be brave in expressing yourself and getting into an industry that will respect you for who you are and then the skills that you can offer. Even if it's you just willing to learn because you know that in the industry you will flourish. So be brave and also know yourself. Be brave, respect yourself, and know yourself so that that will really help you. And at the very least, trying to find what you think you can get into that will eventually land into a career. And you know, it can still change eh. You're in the middle and you're gonna be in your 30s and you discover a new skill. So again, that's another thing. You be brave again. know yourself, respect yourself, and just dive in. Because I think that's what I've learned. Hindi pwede na ganito ka lang na pag 20 ako ganito, pag 30, pag 40 ganyan. Because, life happens. It can still change. So the most important thing is yourself and being brave. I wish more people know that we really need to be brave and know who we are and express ourselves. Kasi that will follow. The career will follow. The way you want your life to flow will follow.
Yes,
There.
okay, thank you po, Miss Therese. Okay, Sir Ed, kayo naman po, as an animator, ayan po, ano pong advice nyo?
Actually, I would like to thank Miss Trisla Fortesa for that, that talk.
True! Na-inspire ako,
Correct ka
naalala ko
talaga.
yung career ko, na-figure ko na, ay gusto ko maging host, ganun.
Yes!
Totoo yan. Kasi ako naman, I would like to tell the upcoming students, kasi di ba, para find their, ano talaga yung best nila. And if they find na gusto nila mag-MMA or they would like to be an artist, the MMA will like ako, I will find their best edge and will refine that for them. I will tell them kung ano yung saan sila magaling, and then yun yung kasi ganun ginagawa ko sa mga students ko, kasi iba-iba ang mga students eh. Meron magaling sa photography, tulad ng sabi ko kanina, yung iba magaling mag-drawing, yung iba magaling magkulay. So may kanya-kanya, lahat ng artist may kanya-kanya. If you have one of those at gusto nyo i-enhance yun, you can enroll in MMA sa LPU, and we will do the rest for you. At least the guidance. Pero syempre yung enthusiasm, kayo magbabaon noon. Baunin nyo yon, and then we will show you how to be a successful artist. Ayun. And basta kung napakinggan niyo sa sinabi ni Miss Therese, baunin nyo yan, and you will be a great artist someday. And isa pa nga pala, one more thing. Dun sa mga artists na nakikita ko dito sa LPU, I find them, yung mga artists natin, may kanya-kanya silang mga galing. And yun ang gusto ko na, sabi nga ni Ma'am Therese, be brave. Ilabas nyo kung ano yung talent nyo, kasi it's how we create originals eh. Huwag tayo basta kumopya sa mga anime, huwag tayo kumopya ba ng mga tawag dito, Walt Disney, or whatever style na existing. We only watch them to be our reference, and then we create our own. Even if ang drawing mo puro stick lang, you can create your own using stick. It's time for us to shape our youngsters na maging Pilipino, magkaroon ng sariling identity. So, yun yung ipinapush ko dito sa mga students natin sa LPU. So, ayan.
Ayan, thank you po, Sir Ed. Sir Giselle, ayan, as someone who works in advertising, who also has illustration experience, ano po ang may illustrate nyo po para sa ating mga students?
Kung napakinggan po niyo si Ma'am Clarice and si Sir Ed, makikita po ninyo yung kasagutan sa tanong ninyo, no? I would always say, look back to your childhood. Ano bang gusto mong ginagawa mo ng bata ka? Like Clarice said, gusto niya mag-tell ng story nung maliit siya. Unconsciously, she said that. Si Sir Ed, sabi niya, nung maliit ako, gusto ko mag-drawing. Okay? Look back. Baka nung bata ka, mahilig ka magluto, kumanta, sumayaw. Then, most likely, yun yung gagawin mo dapat sa buhay ninyo. Like in my case, yung problema lang, it's a journey. Don't worry kung maligaw ka ng journey. As I said, I started out as a pre-med. Kasi, although mahilig ako mag-drawing na maliit. But eventually, I ended up as a designer, as a creative person. And yun po. So I will always say, look back to your childhood. Ano bang gusto mong gawin? Okay? And I will always encourage parents also to, kailangan po yung guidance ng parents na kayo nakita anong hilig ng anak ninyo and lead them to that. Huwag niyong ipilit kung anong gusto ng mundo. Kung ngayon, uso po maging vlogger. Ayaw maging vlogger anak mo, huwag mo pilitin. Okay? So, ganun po. Yun yung advice. Look back to your childhood kung anong gusto mong gawin.
Ayan. Okay, so thank you po, Sir Giselle. So, ayun, ito, para in case mga nawalan ng focus, baka short ang attention span nyo, o i-summarize natin ang advice nila. Mr. E said, be brave, di ba? Express yourself. Kay Sir Ed, parang, don't try to be like somebody, be an original, di ba? Find what's there and then tweak it, twist it to make it your own. And then kay Sir Giselle, look back to your childhood. Naiiyak na ako. Ang ganda ng words nila. Okay, so again, thank you po so much to our speakers for giving us your precious time. Thank you po kay Sir Ed, Miss Carol, Sir Giselle for filling in for her, and Mr. Reese. Thank you po for being part of the Q&A. And for everyone's information, in case na-miss niyo po, sila pong apat ay magigiting na guro galing sa LPU Manila. Yes, kaya kung gusto niyo po sila makita pa, alam niyo na gagawin, enrollment is the key. Plano nyo agawin yung crush ko sa campus, marami pang ibang school, i-recommend ko kayo. Full slot na pala kami kung yun ang plano nyo. Char. Pero besides our speakers, I would also like to thank everyone who watched, sa lahat ng pinusuan kami, sa FB Live, sa lahat ng mga nagtanong. Thank you po. And ayun lamang po, I would please keep safe everyone. Thank you po. Thank you, Francesca Padama. Pinadama mo ang pagmamahal mo sa amin. Ayan, nag-chat ka sa Zoom. Okay, so goodbye everybody and please stay safe. Wear a mask, follow protocols, and please take the lead. Kung gusto nyo mag-enroll kayo. Okay, sige. And by the way, before I say goodbye, may video pa. So wag muna kayo mag-close. Okay, may video presentation pa tayo. Okay, sige. Bye guys. Thank you po sa speakers.
Araw-araw, milyong-milyong Pilipino nag-iipon ng barya sa kanilang tahanan. Ngunit, lingid sa ating kaalaman, ito ay may malaking epekto sa sirkulasyon ng pera sa ating ekonomiya.
Magandang umaga.
Magandang umaga.
Yan, ang galing